Hi again everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another speed build video in The Sims 4. Happy Sunday, hope you're all having the most amazing day ever so far and thank you so much for joining me here today. We are back on our San Sequoia fix, which is of course the new world that has just shipped with our brand new expansion pack, The Sims 4 Growing Together. I'm still very much on this San Sequoia fix. Can you blame me? This world is absolutely beautiful. I'm still very much obsessed with this world and I haven't even scratched the surface yet. I've already created a couple of builds, one of which will be coming out within the next week or two. I am just awaiting confirmation on that one because that's a little project that I've been working on. Anyway, with this particular house, I decided to create a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom family home for 6 Sims. 2, 4, 5, 6, yes, 6 Sims. I just had to double check in my head. I was like, is it 6 Sims? It absolutely is. So it's 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and it's a lovely house. It's very much, it's just really cozy and family friendly, and it has this really nice feeling, this really nice vibe to it. So please let me know what you think in the comments down below of this house. But I'm super proud of this. I actually built this all today. Usually it would take me around 2 or 3 days to build, not constant, just me hopping in and out of game. But with this particular house, I decided to just do it all in one sitting. I'm using like the air bunnies, the quotation marks, because I did of course step away a couple of times throughout the process. But yes, this is the exterior. As you can see, we are using some new siding from the Growing Together pack, along with some of these beautiful new windows that we got. This is not pack restricted. My last build, which I will pop a card in the top right hand corner for you, I ended up building on camera a starter house using base game and Growing Together only. So I thought with this one, yeah, let's not restrict our packs, because the one that I have in the pipeline, the one that's pretty much ready to go, I'm just awaiting confirmation to make the video live, that's also only base game and Growing Together. So I figured with this one it would be kind of fun to not pack restrict. If I'm remembering correctly now, please do not hold me to this, but I was very aware of the items that I was placing and which packs they were from. So, and I was also very aware of budget too. So this house came in at under 100,000 simoleons, which I actually didn't think was too bad, because usually for a house of this size it would cost one of my houses at least 120, 125,000 simoleons, and that's on a good day. So I think because I was very aware of how much I was spending, and I did hold back with some of the clutter too, not too much. I don't want to say that I held too much back, but I'll let you decide on that when we get onto the interior of the house. But I was much more aware of what I was placing, where I was placing it, and the packs that the items actually came from. So anyway, yes, the exterior structure came together really quickly. Actually, I was quite surprised with this, and because I was working from a reference image that I found on Pinterest, I will put it on the screen for you now so that you can see what I was working towards. But as you can see, it's very much just the shape that I used. I didn't use any of the color schemes, any of the landscaping or anything like that. Is very much just the overall shape. And then I just pretty much went to town and did what I wanted to do, what I do best, which is kind of elaborate and just sort of make it up as I went along. So this is what I ended up coming up with. I was really keen on building like this typical blue suburban for some reason, because in my last build I built a typical green suburban, but it was of course a starter house, so I wasn't really able to use the items that I wanted to use. But with this house I was very much able to just do what I wanted to do. Now I'm going to talk about the landscaping for a moment here, because okay, we all know who Miss Simrino is, and if you don't, then you probably should. She's one of my very close friends. We spend a lot of time together chatting here and there, and I watched one of her recent builds and I noticed that her landscaping style is very different from my usual landscaping style, in that it's much more toned back and more well thought out. So I tried my hand at more Miss Simrino's style of landscaping here, and I actually really like how it turned out. So it's a little bit more low-key. I stuck with, I think it's 2 or 3 different flowers, and then a bush here and there, and then trees. So it's very much Miss Simrino's style. So kudos to Miss Simrino for giving me a little bit of inspiration there for the landscaping. but you might notice that it's a little bit more toned back than my normal style. So you'll have to let me know if you prefer this. I definitely do, especially for this house. That's not to say that I'm not going to return to my usual sort of landscaping for myself, but I definitely can tell the difference. So you'll have to let me know if you can. Anyway, the exterior is pretty much done. I did add some bits off camera just to the outside. I did a swing set and things like that, but we have moved on to the interior now. This is where I start working out the floor plan for both the bottom floor and the upper floor too. So this is where all the bedrooms are. There's a bathroom on the ground floor, then there's also an ensuite on the upper floor there. So the kids on the upper floor do not have their own bathroom, unfortunately. They'll have to use the bathroom downstairs, but because I made the bathroom rather large, I thought that worked out kind of well. If you don't agree, I do apologise, but I was just trying to make the most of the space. There's also a playroom down on the ground floor, which I thought was quite a neat idea. So this is just me adding some lighting. I'm so sorry if my throat just gargled on into the microphone. I've just eaten, and after I've eaten, my throat tends to gargle sometimes. It's my body's way of burping because I can't actually burp, so my throat just ends up gargling. So I do apologise if you heard that. Anyway, I digress. The first room we do start with is the living room here, and it took me a little while to figure out the sort of colour palette that I wanted to use with this particular room, and then I pretty much ended up landing on this sort of, I used the herringbone flooring because we all know I love this flooring from the base game. It's probably one of my favourite floorings at this point. I don't think anyone's surprised, but we go for like a creamy, soft wooden powder blue sort of situation in here. And I think it looks absolutely stunning. I do end up switching out this rocking chair for two of the seats from, I believe, Cats and Dogs, but we'll have to just wait and see a moment because here we go. I think they're from Cats and Dogs. There's also a lot of children's activities in the living room because I wanted to emulate that the kids have very much sort of left their stuff all around the house. I wanted to ooze just family friendly. And so my way of doing this is to add just as much kids clutter everywhere as I possibly can. I also even managed to fit the piano from Growing Together in this room, which I was super excited about because it's my very first time being able to add it into a build because generally speaking, here we are, there's the piano. I just think it looks so good in this room. Generally speaking, my living areas are not this big, but because this one was rather large, I decided to add a piano, and I think it works really, really well. There's also some activities for infants. So in my head, we have the two parents, we have one infant, we have two children, and then we have an older child. So potentially a teen or even like an older teen student. That was the family dynamic that I sort of had in my head for this particular family. But if you guys want to sort of come up with your own family dynamic, then that's absolutely fine. You just have to tweak some of the bedrooms, I think. But anyway, the living room took me a little bit longer than I would care to admit. Actually, I think because it was such a vast space and because I didn't really know what I wanted to put where, it was a bit intimidating is probably the word that I would use here. But I do use a lot of the clutter items from Growing Together just to, again, get across that sort of family-friendly vibe. And then I do use this candle from is it the Pastel Pop Kit? I believe that's what it's from. Now, the flame has been fixed. So I was super excited to use this because that's one of my favourite candles in game. But until now, the flame wasn't even a flame. It was like literally just a bare wick. So I was super excited to be able to use that in this build and actually have the flame flicker. So I do end up using that there. I don't know why that was worth mentioning. It probably wasn't, but anyway, I thought I'd mention it. So just adding some more kids toys here and some more kids activities, and then we do move on to the kitchen. Initially, I was thinking I was going to use these base game counters, and then I very quickly switched them out for the ones from Jungle Adventure, I believe. But we do pretty much end up with the same colour scheme. And I do use the new fridge and both cookers here. I used two cookers simply because there was space for it. I wouldn't normally do this. However, because the kitchen was rather large, I figured, why not? I think they look pretty good. But yes, I do very, very, very quickly change out the counters because I was thinking it was looking a little bit too traditional for me. Now, this house is very traditional, but it also has some sort of modern-ish and contemporary twists to it, which I really like, and this kitchen just wasn't passing the vibe check, at least for me. So if you prefer these counters, then feel free to switch them back out, but just for me, I was thinking that the Jungle Adventure ones fit so much better. So this is when I do end up changing them here. I just think these work a lot better. They're traditional, but also they're not sort of like old looking. They're quite modern and fresh without being too modern. So I think they're a good alternative. Putting in a microwave and a coffee machine here, of course, and then we do end up adding this rug. However, I do switch it out, I believe, for one of the ones from the debug menu from Nifty Knitting. I think it's just the white one that I use, but I do pull out this one here from Growing Together. That's where the dining room table ends up going, which I actually really, really like, to be fair, but we'll talk about that more in just a moment. I was trying to think of the words there. Anyway, and then this is me just trying to sort of flesh out the kitchen a little bit, make it a little bit beefier, and add some more clutter pieces to make it look more lived in and a little bit more realistic, because I absolutely love cluttering up houses, but specifically I do love cluttering up the kitchens, especially in family houses, because I think you can add a lot of sort of like kids activities in here, because I figured I wouldn't necessarily class this as the heart of this particular house, but I do think this is a place that the family hangs out quite a bit. So I can imagine the kids playing with some crayons while the parents are cooking tea, and the other kids are in the living room watching a film. Or yeah, I love the vibes of this house. I can definitely imagine and envision the family that lives here too, which I always love thinking about the family that lives in a build, because I think it allows you to just personalize them that little bit more and just give them a bit more character and a little bit more something, a little bit more depth is maybe where I would go with that. But anyway, yeah, we're still cluttering up here because I do end up pulling out some different items, and you can see there's quite a lot of color going on too in the house, which I actually really like. That was one of my main goals, and initially I was going to put in 6 seats excuse me, in this dining room table, and then I thought that's not really going to work with space, so I ended up pushing it up against this wall and adding 4 seats, which I think also works rather well, because my thought process was that we have 2 bar stools there too, so the entire family can sit here and eat. You just have to have 4 at the dining room table and then 2 at the island there, but I think it works rather well. And then I do, of course, pull out some of these brand new clutter pieces from the base game update recently, which I skip across more often than not, and then I'll come across them and be like, oh, I need to add these in here. So that's what I end up doing there. And then I create this little laundry room, which I thought was a really sweet idea. It's a room that I don't tend to add in my builds very often at all, but with this one, because I had the space to do it, I figured why not turn this into a laundry room, and I think it works quite well actually. There's not too much going on here, and then I do remember that we had this base game update that added some light switches, non-functional unfortunately, but anyway, that's a different conversation, to the catalogue, so I do end up adding some of them to the walls here too, and then just adding some more clutter pieces to this little laundry room here. I just thought it was a really nice addition to the build, and then I do end up adding a vacuum cleaner just in this corner here as well, so if you have is it the Bust the Dust? I'm sure it's called Bust the Dust. If you have the Bust the Dust kit, then you will have a vacuum cleaner in here. And if not, you'll have an empty little corner that you can fill in with whatever you like. It's really no big deal. And then with this little room here, I figured I would create like a cluttered little storage area, because I never had these in my Sims builds, but they're rooms that more often than not family houses actually have. I know that we have a space under our stairs. We've got like a cupboard under the stairs, kind of like Harry Potter-esque, and it's got like vacuum cleaners, and it's got the dog food and like a drill and just like random bits and pieces. So I definitely took inspiration from that to create this little space here. So you'll have to let me know what you think. So there's just like a concoction of different items in here that I believe the family has just sort of like collected over the years. They don't necessarily use in the rest of the house, but they've just stored them in this little room here, which I thought was just a really neat idea. And like I said, it's something that I never had in my builds. And then I was thinking, like, we've got some like knitting bits here, because perhaps like one of the grandparents used to come over and knit for the kids, but they don't do that anymore or something. Anyway, this is the downstairs bathroom. I do use this new shower tub combination from the, I was about to say the Generations pack. Oh my gosh, I meant the Growing Together pack. Because the bathroom is rather large, I do end up cluttering up with just some bits here and just trying to fill out the space a little bit better. But I actually sometimes, not all the time, but I sometimes prefer creating slightly larger bathrooms, because it just means that you can add a little bit more personality to them. You can add just more bits here and there just to make them feel a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more lived in. So that's what I end up doing with this particular bathroom. But I do pull out some of these items from the pastel pop kit. Are these from the pastel pop kit? No, they're from the, is it the bathroom clutter? Like, what's it called? Bathroom clutter or something? Oh gosh, for me the kits are sort of merging into one at the minute, and I do believe that they need the team need to now subcategorize the kits, because at the minute we've just got kits. I think they need to now subcategorize the kits per kit. Anyway, I'm not going to say kit anymore. Kit. This is the playroom. I was initially going to turn this into a home office, and then I figured, do you know what? How many Sims use a home office, especially with houses such as this? So I decided to turn this into a room that the kids can come into. They can use the computer, they can grab a book, they can have a seat, they can play with some toys. And I just figured it's just a nice little space for them on the ground floor to just chill out, hang out. Maybe when they've got friends coming over from school, they can all hang out here. I just thought it worked really, really well. So you'll have to let me know what your thoughts are on this. If you'd prefer to turn this into a home office, please feel free to do so. I'm not going to be upset or offended or anything like that. I just figured, why not? It's something just a little bit different too. And I think when you add a playroom into a house, it just offers more gameplay again for your Sims and more immersion within the game. Yes, that's what I mean. Anyway, and then I do add some more clutter here and there just to sort of like clutter things up and make things look a little bit more lived in. We put in this little panda chair in the corner, which I think works really well. And then we move on to the main bedroom. As you can see, I did decorate the hallway and the ensuite off camera because they didn't take me long to throw together at all, and I figured I didn't think anyone would really want to watch me doing them, so I did them off camera. So this is probably one of the, if not the smallest bedroom on the upper floor. Now, I figured the parents don't actually mind. First of all, they got an ensuite. Second of all, I just don't think the parents that live in this house like really care that they have one of the smallest bedrooms in the house. Like they just don't. They don't need that space. This is where they come to relax. They don't need room to play with toys or anything like that, like the kids do. So I figured they just didn't mind at all. So that took me like 2 seconds to whip together. And then we move on to the nursery. So this is for the infant. It's a very pinky purpley theme in here, which I actually really enjoy. It's a theme that I don't believe I've tried doing on the channel with an infant room as of yet. Please correct me if I'm wrong, because I feel like everything's merging into one at the moment. Not necessarily in a bad way, but yeah, I just figured that was the case. We put a changing table over here, and it's really funny because I'm just looking at the footage here. This room actually took me longer than the main bedroom, but that was just because I was trying to figure out like what items I could put where, how many things I could actually fit in this room, because it's a weird little L shape that we've got going on, and I wanted to add a rocking chair in here, and it just didn't work out the way that I had it didn't work out the way that I had initially envisioned, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is what it is at this point. And I had a wall decor item from Werewolves, which I think looks really, really cute. So it's this cute little owl sort of wall decor piece. And then this mobile that goes above the cot, just some stickers to go on the wall. And then we had this cute little mat, which I'm absolutely obsessed with. And then just, I know that the infant can't interact with this cat toy, but I just thought it added just a little bit of something. And then in this room, this is where I envisioned twin boys were, and I don't believe I've used this bunk bed in this swatch as of yet. This was super exciting for me to use, and I do pair this with this base game wallpaper, which sort of fades from yellow into blue, which I thought was kind of cool. I've never used it before, not that I recall anyway, so this was super exciting for me to try and use, and I really like this room. It's super fun, super colourful. And does anyone else, do these bedspreads and this rug remind you of Toy Story? Like, come on. This has got like Toy Story vibes going on, right? It must do. At least it does for me anyway. And then we had some of these cute little base game lights to the wall here. They came with a recent update and I love them so much. I've been using them a lot lately. And then these boys also have their own desk with a computer on. Perhaps this computer has been handed down, much like the one in the playroom, because the parents are like, look, you kids, you don't really know how to look after things right now, so we're not going to go out and spend a lot of money on a new computer, so we're going to just hand one down. So maybe like one of the parents used to use it for work and now they've got it. That was my sort of idea with this. And then I just go in and add a few more decor pieces. And then I don't think there's too much else that goes on in this room, other than I think I add a little bit more clutter to the bedside table, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I also add this little makeshift rocket here. Your kids can't interact with this in any way, shape or form. I just thought it was a nice little addition to the room. And then of course adding some, just like I said, some more clutter to the end table here, which I think works out really nicely. And then we move on to the final bedroom of the builds. This is where I envisioned the teen. I envisioned an older sister. So they've got 4 kids all together. They've got an older like female child, so this is the one that's in here, so she's perhaps a high school student. Then they've got their 2 twin boys who are probably child age and then they have their infant daughter. So that's them done now, I believe, unless they have any surprises on the way or in the future, but that's pretty much it. So this daughter probably has her own job, that's why she can afford to buy this fancy PC. Maybe she's dabbling into streaming, gaming or editing or something like that. That was sort of my backstory for her. So she's got this really cute little space here, but that is pretty much it for this video. We just add some more decor pieces to this room and then that's pretty much it. So I really hope you enjoyed this, but if you would like to download this house from the gallery, you can do so. If you search on the gallery for RachelPedd, you will find it there. Tray files, as always, are linked down in the description box below. You can get them for free from Sim File Share. But thank you so much everyone for joining me here today. You all take care and I will see you next time I post a video. Bye!